So, do I look like a golfer? Today's one of those days. Today's the day I go out with the boys and play a little golf. And I'm back in the studio now, and I'm a day behind because we had a major power failure yesterday because we had tornadoes all around us. But so I'm one day behind in what I had to do. So today we're going to try to answer the question: why are bat viruses so deadly? In other words, if it has been said that the coronavirus started in a bat and they're selling bats to eat in China, what makes them deadlier to us? I know I've asked the question. I didn't know the answer. So I started digging, and from the University of Cal Berkeley, the liberal bastions of this country, is a study that came out to try to explain it to us. So I figured I'll share that with you just because if you're scratching your head, I'm out golfing, and we had to keep our 6 foot distance, and we had to, one person per cart, et cetera, et cetera. And didn't help my game at all, but we still managed to get outdoors where it's probably the safest. And I know if you're stuck in the house or the weather isn't as good as it is here, it's a little difficult. So if you're in a group discussion tonight around the dinner table and somebody says, well, gee, Dad, why are bat viruses so deadly? It's no coincidence that some of the worst viral disease outbreaks in recent years, SARS, MERS, I didn't know this, Ebola, the Marburg virus, and the newly arrived 2019 coronavirus originated in bats. A new University of Cal Berkeley study finds that bats' fierce immune response to viruses could drive viruses to replicate faster so that when they jump to mammals with average immune systems, such as humans, the viruses wreak deadly havoc. Okay, so we say that the bats have an enormous immune system, but why does it start there? Some bats, including those known to be the original source of human infections, have been shown to host immune systems that are perpetually primed to mount defenses against viruses. Viral infections in these bats leads to a swift response that walls the virus out of cells. While this may protect the bats from getting infected with high viral loads, it encourages these viruses to reproduce more quickly within the bats as a host before a defense can be mounted. This makes bats a unique reservoir of rapidly reproducing and highly transmittable viruses. I scratch my head at times and say, I know there's a reason. There's a reason that God created everything. But why did we create bats? Why did we create ticks? Why did he create ticks? Anyway, those are the questions we'll never know the answer to. While bats can tolerate viruses like these, when these bat viruses then move into animals that lack a fast response immune system, the virus quickly overwhelms their new host, leading to high fatality rates. So basically, bats just happen to be in that part of the world in a lot in high levels, and they tend to attract viruses. And when they're inside of these bats, they're reproducing and doing things abnormal. Some bats are able to mount this robust antiviral response, but also balance it with an anti-inflammation response, said Kara Brook, a postdoctoral fellow at UC Berkeley. Our immune system would generate widespread inflammation if attempting to do the same antiviral strategy, but bats appear uniquely suited to avoid the threat of immunopathology. In other words, we as humans mount an inflammation response, i.e., our fever goes up when we're fighting something. You see it as a fever, our body gets hot. But we would get totally overwhelmed, and the fever would probably kill us versus the virus if it was us that was breeding these. The researchers note that disrupting bat habitats appears to stress the animals and make them shed even more viruses in their saliva, urine, and feces that can affect other animals. So when you move into a part of the world where they eat these things, and they're going out harvesting these things, heightened environmental threats to bats may add to the threat of this, said Brooks, who works with a bat monitoring program funded by the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. that is currently underway in Madagascar, Bangladesh, Ghana, and Australia. The project, called Bat One Health, explores the link between loss of bat habitat and the spillover of bat viruses into other animals. So, because they used to go in caves and we left them alone, now they're harvesting them as food over there. And the environmental trash that goes into the air in China is pushing these bats into close contact with us. The new study by Brooks and her colleagues was published this month in the Journal of eLife. As the only flying mammal, bats elevate their metabolic rates in flight to a level that doubles that achieved by similarly sized rodents when running. Generally, vigorous physical activity and high metabolic rate leads to higher tissue damage due to an accumulation of reactive molecules, free radicals. But to enable flight, bats seems to have developed physiological mechanisms to effectively mop up these destructive molecules. We talk about cellular rust, how it takes us down, how it's a factor of aging with us. But bats don't do that. This has the side benefit of efficiently mopping up damaged molecules produced by inflammation of any cause, which may explain bats' uniquely long lifespan. Smaller animals with faster heart rates and metabolisms typically have shorter lifespans than larger animals with slower heartbeats. This rapid tamping down of inflammation may also have another perk: tamping down inflammation related to antiviral immune response. One key trick of many bats' immune system is the hair trigger release of a signaling molecule called interferon alpha, which tells other cells in the animal to man the battle stations before a virus invades. Brooke was curious on how bats' rapid immune response affects the evolution of the viruses they host. So she conducted experiments on cultured cells from two bats and, as a control, one monkey. One bat, the Egyptian fruit bat, a natural host of the Marburg virus, requires a direct viral attack before transcribing its interferon alpha gene to flood the body with interferon. This technique is slightly slower than that of the Australian black flying fox, a reservoir of the Hendra virus, which is primed to fight virus infections with interferon alpha RNA. The African green monkey cell line does not produce interferon at all. When challenged by viruses mimicking Ebola and Marburg, the different responses of these cell lines were striking. While the green monkey cell line was rapidly overwhelmed and eventually killed by the virus, a subset of the bat cells successfully walled themselves off from viral infection thanks to the interferon early warning. So they became a carrier. The virus didn't take them down. In fact, it stayed in there longer. It became stronger. It became stronger yet, and then was released into the environment on things that were eating these bats. In the Australian black flying fox cells, the immune response was even more successful, with the viral infections slowed substantially over that of the other lines. Think of viruses on a cell monolayer like a fire burning through a forest. Some of the communities or cells have emergency blankets, and fire washes through without harming them. And at the end of the day, you still have smoldering coals in the system. But there are still some viral cells, says Brooke. The surviving community of cells can reproduce, providing new targets for the virus, setting up a smoldering infection that persists across the bat's lifespan. Brooks and Boots created a simple model of the bat's immune system to recreate the experiments in a computer. This suggests that having a really robust interferon system would help these viruses persist within the host. The researchers know that many of the bat viruses jump to humans through an animal intermediary. SARS got to humans through the Asian palm civet, MERS via camels, Ebola via gorillas and chimpanzees, Nipah via pigs, Hendra via horses, Marburg through the African green monkeys. Nonetheless, these viruses still remain extremely virulent and deadly upon making the final jump into humans. Brooke and Boots are designing more formal models of disease evolution within bats in order to better understand virus spillover. It's really important to understand the trajectory of an infection in order to be able to predict emergence, spread, and transmission. That clarify anything? Maybe. All we know that these bats pretty much need wiped out, quite honestly. If that is the impetus point for all of these things over and over and over again, you know, we take methodology to take deer down when they're doing damage. Is it not in the realm of things, if this is such a big problem, can we do without bats? And why is it that it just happens in China and not here? Tomorrow we're going to try to answer another question I'm sure you have asked. Why is it not such a big deal in younger people? Why is this virus more propagated in elderly? So we'll try to answer that question tomorrow. I don't know if I clarified things or not, but I think it's intriguing. I can't find a purpose for bats. They live in caves, and they become a harbinger of viruses that are so potent that they can kill us. Well, I think somebody's got to draw a line in the sand and say enough's enough. That's just my opinion. If you have any other questions like this, 678-228-8900, 678-228-8900. I do not give golf lessons because I'm not that good. But anyway, God bless you folks, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.